The plot thickens and wacky theories are being thrown out. Could Goku have figured out the entire mystery on just dumb luck? Beautiful friends from around the world, I'm going to be your host Blackenfist, and this is my review of episode 58. This episode opens up with Zamasu confronting Zuno just as we left off. And what was he here to do? Well, like the mob boss that Zamasu is, he's here to do a shakedown. A shakedown of information. Of course, Zamasu asks Zuno all about the Super Dragon Balls, and then, humorously, Zuno starts going into his long diatribe that he gave Bulma and Jaco when they asked about the Super Dragon Balls. However, Zamasu ain't playing around. Zuno got the picture once Zamasu showed him his piece. His cyber blade. Zamasu informs him that he is a Supreme Kai, a Kaioshin, and therefore he doesn't have to subscribe to the rules that other people have to obey. Zuno, getting the picture pretty quickly, reveals that the Super Dragon Balls, unfortunately for him, are inactive because they were recently used. Apparently, they need 1 year before they can get reactivated again. The same amount of time that the Earth Dragon Balls need, which is actually kind of weird since considering the Super Dragon Balls are supposed to be essentially a more powerful version, actually, in fact, a much more powerful version of this Earth Dragon Balls. You would imagine that the time for them to be active again would be like 1,000 years or something. But that would be inconvenient. The scene ends abruptly and then transitions into the next scene. But if you guys watched my previous video, you probably already know that the way I want that scene to end, and it's not shown, so perhaps it still happened, is with Zuno's head on the floor, and with Zamasu with a very bloody energy blade. Back on Earth, Goku's just telling Bulma and everyone else how their fight with Zamasu turned out to be, and the fact that Zamasu is immortal. Goku suggests to fight immortality. Why not become an immortal yourself? But he then suggests the method by eating a bunch of sensu beans. Didn't this already happen? I mean, earlier in Dragon Ball, when the sensu beans were first introduced, Yajirobe did eat a whole bunch of sensu beans, yet I don't think he became immortal. So I don't know why Goku's suggesting this, since when Yajirobe did this, he was in his presence. It's because Toriyama forgot. In the meantime, future Trunks tells the present Mai she is not dead in the future. Everyone is actually quite surprised at the fact how resilient the future Mai really is. We then get a little visit from the Supreme Kai because it turns out that Zuno contacted him about the Super Dragon Balls and Goku specifically. This is when the characters start to speculate a little bit more about what Zamasu could want to do with the Super Dragon Balls, and then interestingly enough, out of nowhere, Goku just suggests that Zamasu uses the Super Dragon Balls to create Black. Interestingly, Whis accepts this theory that fighting with Goku impressed Zamasu so much that if he could have a fighter like that himself, it would be a lot more easy for him to achieve his goals. This is honestly a very strange theory in my opinion, because it still leaves out the fact of how future Zamasu is an immortal, because I obviously thought he was going to be wishing for immortality. However, there is one thing that can take into account that fact. Because the time rings exist, all he would have to do is make a wish, then zap himself 1 year later, and presto, he can wish for another thing, which would be immortality. I must preface this by saying that this is only Whis' theory, so it's not 100% concrete proof, but I will say that if Zamasu indeed wished for Black with the Super Dragon Balls, that still doesn't take into account one of the few things we do know about Black, which is the fact that Black constantly keeps referring to his body, like as if his body is not the original body that he came with, constantly keeps referring to this body or my body as if the body that he is now occupying is not his original body, or the being that Black Goku isn't attached to the body he's in. This wish wouldn't account for those statements, so maybe there's something else going on, or maybe it's just a theory. So you know what, guys, if this theory turns out to be wrong, you know what, you can't blame all those guys on the internet making their theories, because you know what, even Whis' theory turned out to be wrong. If it is wrong, it does seem that the story is hinting that Gowasu is going to die, or at the very least, that in Trunks' timeline, Gowasu did die, and that's what future Zamasu did. Which honestly impresses me, because Kwaman called this like in the very beginning of the arc when Gowasu was introduced, when none of these hints were being shown right now. So that is actually a very good one, and I gotta give him all the credit to that. Of course, our heroes take a trip to Universe 10 to check up on Gowasu and Zamasu, just to make sure that he isn't dead. It turns out Gowasu's doing what Kais are always doing, which is sitting around, it seems, and they ask for the whereabouts of Zamasu. Apparently, he's nowhere to be found. But later on, he does appear, as usual, with his tea. And really, that's where the episode leaves off. This episode is the definition of the plot thickening type of episode. A lot of the mysteries are starting to get unraveled, and the plot is coming to a head. Overall, this was an okay episode. It was not an action episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad episode. I will say that this whole theory is kind of weird. And once again, it's not confirmed, but with Dragon Ball, we really don't know. But we'll really have to wait until next time. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did enjoy this review, please subscribe to my channel because I will bring you more reviews like this one as well as my other Dragon Ball segments. And as always, guys, I'm Blackenfist.